welcome back to Freedom Families. Today we are going to talk with Jacki Anderson. Jacki Anderson was a public school teacher and now she is a homeschool mom, and she also teaches some other classes and does just a ton of cool stuff with her life and her family. And so I wanted to have her on to ask her questions about the transition from the public school to homeschooling, and also ask her about her family, her kids, how they're growing their family, how they are choosing to live a life after Christ as a marriage with their kids and with their community as well. So we'll get right into it. Hello, Jacki.
Hi, EJ. Thank you. That welcome was amazing. I feel honored.
Well, and that's how I feel. For the listeners, I can tell you that Jacki and I actually lived in the same neighborhood in Mankato, Minnesota, although not at the same time, because my family had moved to an adjacent neighborhood, basically. And now we're both out of Mankato. But although I'm not a huge social media fan, I am grateful for times like this, because without Facebook, I would have had no way to contact you, Jacki, or know what you were up to. And I love seeing the stuff you guys are doing with your kids, how you've moved, and I'll ask you about that in a second, the things you're doing with your house and your property there. So tell us first, who are you? What is the makeup of your family?
I am Jacki, and I am married to my husband. It'll be 14 years in August, which seems like it has just flown by, but it's been
Mm.
amazing. We have four super awesome kids. And yes, I'm probably biased because I'm their mom, but they really are great kids. And they range in ages from, let's see, my oldest, Odin, turns 13 here in July. Quinn just turned 11 on Wednesday. Corrigan will be 10 in November, and then Declan turns 8 here in June. So very close in ages, but I wouldn't trade it for the world, no matter how crazy it was at the beginning with diaper after diaper and
Mhm.
nursing babies and crying kids. And now to see where they're at in their life, and actually to see how much easier mine is getting because they're getting older, truly brings me a lot of joy. So we live out on a 10-acre property in Waldorf, which is just about 25 minutes south of Mankato, and moved here 2 years ago in April. And man, we love it here too. Just the freedom to do what we want on our own property, to try to live off the land, to explore. And we're getting baby goats coming in June. So we're super excited for that.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
so Nubian dairy goats. So we're excited to make cheese and soaps and drink the milk, and then we're looking at getting a couple pigs yet, little piglets that will grow to feed our family through the winter. And yeah, so we've got some fun stuff going on here.
That's really
Grayson,
neat. You make me wanna visit.
yeah, I know we might need to open the farm up for little play dates and stuff. But yeah, I love it. I love having people out here and just letting kids do what they want to do without the fear of traffic, or no, kids can be
Yes.
loud and nobody cares because we have
Uh-huh.
a neighbor far away, but that's it.
Mhm.
So that's what I like, is my kids can be kids and not worry about offending anybody either while we're out here. So
Matthew and I actually think about that. You mentioned not having to worry about traffic. Whenever we go on a road trip somewhere, we're always looking for properties where we say, "Oh, that one's, too close to the road," or, "Oh, I love how that one, see, the road is winding back. You can't even see the house. It's in
yes,
all these trees." And we talk about that. I was also reminded that I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you were at East when you got married, or shortly after, because when
yes,
I had you as a Phy-Ed and health teacher, you had your maiden name still.
yep, yep. So yep, Bryce and I got married 2007. I had to think about that. Yes, and I started
Yeah.
at East in 2005.
Okay, and that would
Yep.
be, yeah, because I know that my 7th grade spring was 2006, and then so
Oh
8th
yes,
8th grade would be 2006 to 2007.
yep. You would have been on because I coached seventh grade softball, and Matthew
Mm.
took you up,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the
That's
really
right,
big
a
picture. And I remember being like, "No, don't."
cat. Yep,
Yep.
that's actually why I remember that spring of 7th grade year was 2006 was because
Yep.
of softball.
Yep.
And then in 11th grade, I was taking a basketball teammate home in the winter and ended up getting in a car accident on the highway
Oh, yeah.
because I hit some black ice and spun around, I think, 1.5 times,
Oh my god.
and, I remember when the police officer got there, he was amazed that I was doing well, and I was actually eating I was eating a dish of cookie dough ice cream from Culver's that I had picked up because the girl had lived close to a Culver's. I dropped her off already. It was just me, but
Yep.
the police officer was shocked because the car was in such bad shape, but I had no idea. I was inside the car. I didn't know what the outside looked like, and I was just eating the cookie dough ice cream. I was fine. But I did then go to your husband because he was a chiropractor. Is he still doing that?
Yes. Yep, he is. We've owned the business now, so we bought it right after Odin was born, so it'll be 13 years here in August
Is
that
it
we've
the
owned our.
same location or different location
Nope,
from
we moved, to Cherry and Broad Street.
Okay.
Downtown still, but yeah, so we're in our own little lot more space, a lot more windows. Bryce loves it, all the windows. And yeah, he's doing great. Obviously, last year was, not a great year for businesses,
Mhm.
but yeah, he's doing fantastic, and I'm so proud of him. He's good at his job. God gave him a gift, and I love seeing him use it and seeing when he's so proud that, when he helps people. That's where his heart is. He just wants to help people, and do it, joyfully as much as you can when you're dealing with insurance some days, but
Yeah, yeah.
joyfully, and just, yeah, I'm just proud of him. Yeah, he's doing great. So,
I always enjoyed the conversation too when I went to him. I've been going each pregnancy to a chiropractor, but if we
mhm.
lived close enough to you, I'd be going to Bryce.
Oh, and he loves working with pregnant women too. That's one of his things. He loves athletes and pregnant women. It seems like
Oh,
that's what he
cool,
loves. Yeah.
cool.
So,
And you, I'm guessing he worked on you throughout your
oh yeah,
pregnancy?
every pregnancy. Yep, every pregnancy, and even from essentially the minute that he could adjust our babies, he was doing that in the
Mm.
hospital as well. And yeah, he takes care of us, and we're pretty spoiled.
Cool.
And I tell my kids that too. I said, a lot of times they'll come to me, "Mom, I have a headache. Mom, my neck hurts," and I think you need to be talking to your dad.
When you and Bryce were in or dating, engaged, early marriage, were
Mhm.
you talking about family and what you wanted it to look like? Were you talking about, how many kids you wanted to have, how you viewed family, things like that, or did that just kinda happen after?
I would say that I'll just tell you, because so I was 31 when I met Bryce, and he was 30, and by the time we got married, I was 33, he was 32. So we were both, neither one of us had ever been married, neither one of us had any kids, outside, and so I think when we both met each other, we just knew, and it was a total God thing. And if I can just share the story how we met,
I would love to hear it.
it's
Mhm.
just amazing to me how I look back on it. Um, so I moved down to Mankato for my teaching job. I had been teaching up in Burnsville
Mm.
and moved to Mankato for my teaching job. I knew nobody. My good friend Dawn Michaud was here, but then they ended up leaving a year after that because they moved closer to their family. But I was sitting, I think, oh, I had met our locker room assistant who was hanging out with Bryce's aunt at the time. And so she had invited me to go out with them and hang out. And then as I got to know Bryce's aunt, Cindy, then Pam was like, "Hey, Cindy, do you know anybody that, we could hook Jackie up with?" And I was like,
Mm.
"Oh, I don't do blind dates. I've had horrible ones. I don't want to do this." And so I met Bryce out. He was playing darts on a Monday night through a league, and so Cindy and her husband Rick came, so that way I had an out if I needed an out. But met him and we chatted. Rick and Cindy left, and then we sat and chatted even longer. But I look at how God set up our whole process. So me moving down here, I met Bryce. At that time, I met Bryce. He was looking at chiropractic jobs all over the state of Minnesota.
Mm.
So he was ready to leave to go get a job. And I'm thinking, no, I just met you. Within a month,
Yeah.
I knew I was just like, yep, this is the guy I'm going to marry. He didn't feel
Mm.
that same way, but I didn't care. I was just like, yep, this is who I'm in love with. And then all of a sudden he got a call one day in July. I'd met him in March. In July, a doc in Mankato called him and asked if he'd come and work as an associate doc with her and with the possibility of buying the business. And so he thought about it for a very short period of time and he was like, yep, this is what I want to do. So that ended up being the business we bought too. But I look at
Mm.
even that part where God brought in that business, brought Bryce into the business, and then that opportunity for us to purchase the business. And then he stayed in Mankato, and this is where we are. And just look at every step of the way how God planned it all. And I know we like to try to plan our lives and
Yeah.
hope it goes the way we want it to. And sometimes it doesn't. I mean, I always envisioned I was going to be married by the time I was 25, right out of college, and I was going to have all these kids by the time I was 30 or whatever. And so I had my
Mhm.
life planned, and then none of that worked. So, which is totally fine because I had a lot of growth to do in myself before I was able to meet Bryce and really truly build our relationship then um, from the bottom up. But yeah, so kids came along after I think after we got engaged and then we kind of started talking more about family and
Yeah.
with my age also we knew, if we're going to have kids, we have to do it immediately where some people, they have that option of waiting 5, 6 years,
Mhm.
just enjoy their marriage and then have babies. Well, we knew right away that that wasn't going to be our option. And so I think Bryce always had four in his head, four kids in his mind. I still have five in my brain. And so
Mm.
I would love,
What did you each grow up with?
I had six siblings and he has two.
Okay.
Yep. And so I loved having a big family and he just only had brothers. He never had any sisters. So that's
Mm.
even a different thing. Just bringing a little girl into our house, our daughter, and to see how that, changes Bryce as well, watching
Yeah.
him with a little girl. So, but yeah, so we just, thankfully I was able to get pregnant and, that wasn't an issue for me. And so we've just four babies in 5 years. That was a whirlwind, but
Mhm.
again, I wouldn't change it for anything. So,
When you started having kids, were you thinking right away, even with your first pregnancy, like whether or not you were gonna stay home? And were you thinking ahead to what schooling would look like for them? How did that go about?
oh yeah, I have always known. I mean, I think from being younger and just starting to babysit that I wanted nothing more than just to raise my babies. And with that meant, staying home with them until they're all in school and then I go back to work. That's kind of what I envisioned.
Mhm.
And so that was always on my heart. It was really, really hard with Odin, my first to, even though I enjoyed teaching, I just hated taking him to daycare. Just hated, to take him to somebody else. Even though she was great, that was my job. That was always on my heart to be the one
Mhm.
raising my kids. And so that was hard. But then when Quinn came along, and I should step back there for a second because when we bought the business, it was right after Odin was born. And so we knew that financially we needed my paycheck to make
Mm.
ends meet. And
Mm.
so staying home with Odin just wasn't an option at that time, just especially with Bryce trying to build the business back up, trying to get, patients in and get to a point financially where we knew we could be okay just if he was our sole provider. So that was essentially why we waited until Quinn came along, and then so that was almost 2 years later, and then I was able to take my leave of absence from teaching,
Mm.
and I would just that's all I wanted. I just wanted to be home with my babies. So, and then education wise, I think that when I look at that, when I decided to leave East to stay home, Bryce always said, "Okay, just so you know, you're going to go back to teaching then." Once, and I was like, "Yeah, no problem. When the kids are in school, that's totally fine. It's a great occupation to have when your
Mhm.
kids are, in school because you have summers off with them and,
Yep.
time wise. So
Mhm.
that would be great." Well, then he came home one day and said, "I think we should look at homeschooling." And I was like, "What?
No.
What do you mean homeschooling? This is no way. I am not a homeschooler. Not my thing. I do not want to do that." He's like, "Well, just think about it, pray about it, see what happens." And lo and behold, now I just finished my 7th year of homeschooling. So
Mm.
it's was hard at the beginning. I'm not going to lie, it was very hard, and it's still challenging. But man, the rewards are amazing. So
When you first started, because I was gonna ask if your mom stayed home.
hmm
Okay.
yep, she actually did, until, man, I think it was till we were all maybe in junior high, and then she started working in the tech school in town. But her job was where she left for work after we were already on the school bus, and she was home from work when we came home from school.
Mm,
So that was
nice.
important for her to too. That she was always there for us in the morning and in the afternoon. And we were big. We always had family dinners. Always. That's the one thing I remember growing up too, and it's still a craving of mine to do that. But with Bryce's job, he often sees people after they're done with work.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so a
Yeah.
lot of times our dinner is at 7 o'clock at night. And
Mhm.
that's hoping he's home by then so we can have dinner together. But he tries his best. And again, being self employed, it's hard. You got to, to make ends meet, you got to also meet meet the needs of others when it works for them too. So
And he has a little bit of a drive too.
yes, yep, a 30-minute drive, and that's good for him. It really helps him wind down from the day. He can listen to his K-fan and catch up on his sports, all that good stuff
Yeah.
that guys like to do, and then he
Mhm.
comes home and he feels a little bit more, refreshed to release some of the stressors of his day too before he walks into the house. So,
Absolutely. Matthew feels the same way. We used to live only 1.2 miles from his school,
mm,
and he said especially in the spring when it starts to get warm out and you wanna drive home with your windows down, he would and, play some country music, he would say that he wished his drive was longer because he wanted to enjoy it, and now he has about 25, 30 minutes of a drive home, and he feels like that is the perfect amount of time.
yep. And that's what Bryce says too. And he always had said when we were looking for houses in the country, he's like, I don't want it to be more than 30 minutes. I think 30 minutes is a good drive time. So,
Yeah. When you were first starting homeschooling, where did you go? In case we have listeners who are interested in homeschooling, they don't know anybody who homeschools, they wouldn't know where to go or how to start. What did you do in those early days of thinking about homeschooling and starting homeschooling?
yes. Oh, that's a great question. When I look back on it, I looked for other moms, maybe veteran moms that were homeschoolers. And at the time that I was just starting out, we were at Bethel Baptist Church in Mankato.
Mm, mhm.
And I knew there were several families there that homeschooled. And so I just started asking questions with them. And I think the one question I was always so worried about was socialization, because
Yep.
I feel
Mhm.
like that's all you hear from people that don't homeschool is, well, how
Yes.
do you socialize? How are your kids going to learn to socialize? And so that was always, because being new to it, I was right. How are they going to socialize? But I remember talking to another mom, and she just said, "You know what? Mankato is such an amazing area for homeschoolers that you would have so many opportunities to be outside the home every day of the week and weekends." She said, "You might not even have time to do schoolwork." And so and so she goes, "You're going to have to pick and choose. What do you want to do? Because you also know you got to get your schoolwork done with, the added benefit of being able to go to play dates or field trips or art classes with other people, that kind of stuff." It's I would say find other moms and just start talking to them. Churches also, again, like you said, social media is can be such a downfall, but yet it's also very um, informational if you're looking for the good stuff. So
Yeah.
I know I joined the Mankato area homeschoolers on
Mm.
Facebook right away, because people ask questions on there all the time, and questions that I wouldn't have even thought of asking or would have even known to even ask. And you can read and learn from just that. Even if I had a question, I would post it, and there'd always be a mom out there or a dad. We have some dads on the site too, but that yes, this happened to me, or this is where I went for that resource, that kind of stuff. So I would say search Facebook for any type of homeschooling groups that you can learn about. MACHE is the Minnesota Association for Christian Homeschoolers, and that is so mache.org is a great and very useful group that has anything from legal help to curriculum, whatever you might need. And then hslda.org, I believe it is. I could be wrong on that. It could be .com. But again, they're a national and actually worldwide known homeschool legal defense team, and they work for homeschoolers. So you can join them and have a membership with them and have all kinds of benefits. Again, from if you need legal help, they'll send you a lawyer. If you need curriculum, they can help you, whatever, or anything in between with your districts, anything, they're there to help too, and are full of the information you'll need for the laws in each state. So no,
Mm,
depending on the state you live in, homeschool
right.
laws all differ. So you
Mhm.
need to make sure you understand your state's laws as well. So both of those sites, Mache and HSLDA, are great resources to learn about your state laws as well.
Oh, great. Well, I'll make sure that I link those in the description for anybody who wants to check those out.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Can you talk with us about what a typical homeschool day looks like for your family?
Sure. I'll just start out by saying every day is completely different. So, but our goal is we're not big on getting up by 7:30 and starting school at 8 a.m. We are not that family. I like to just kind of ease into my day. So do my kids. So we take some time and we're cuddling on the couch, and I'm having
Mhm,
my coffee. And we just, they might watch some cartoons, or they love their sports on YouTube, the sports recap videos. They love watching that on YouTube. And so it's just kind of whatever they need to get ready for their day as well. So then we get breakfast, and typically by, I would say, 9:30, that's when we start our day. And we're actually done with school by noon. So,
mhm,
I mean, it's a beautiful thing when you think about being in a public school setting, or private school setting. Even you're in school
mhm,
at 8 a.m. and you're there until 3 p.m. or 2:30, and that's a long day for kids to be sitting in a
mhm,
chair being asked, to do all of these things, when realistically they could get it done, like I said, within 2.5 3 hours. And that's
mhm.
usually my sixth grade now is taking 2.5 hours probably to get his schoolwork done. But in the grand scheme of things, oh my gosh, they have so much freedom then being at home to, then they go outside and play. They play, I look at the bonds that my kids have right now, and it just makes my heart so happy. Yes, they
Mm,
fight. I mean, they're siblings, they're going to have arguments, but man, when they are actually having fun together, that is what I love to see. And I hope that just carries in to their adult life. So when they come home, and I hope they still want to come home, that's my goal too, is that, like they'll come home and just be so excited to bring their families here and just hang out here and just love on each other still, and razz each other and have fun with each other and still play football in the backyard, and all that. I
mhm.
just hope that they do that. But that's relationship building is huge. And I know I just got off topic there, but my heart starts
No,
to
I love hearing that. I
go.
love hearing that.
So, but yeah, so then we start, right now, my fifth and sixth grader, they were pretty much doing school on their own. If they have questions, they come and ask me. And a lot of times it's science stuff that maybe they'll have questions on, or their math. So math they do online, and it's really nice because their teacher, it teaches them right online, and then they do their assignments online, and it's graded online. So that's really great. As well as language arts, they also have a CD they watch, and then they have a worksheet page that they complete after that lesson, and that just builds on each other as well. So year after year, so that's been awesome as far as giving me a little bit more freedom to do other stuff while they're doing their schooling. It
Mhm,
also is a way for them to take ownership of their schooling as well. Our goal is that they just want to continue to learn throughout life, and not just like, oh, we got to read another textbook. Come
Yeah.
on, mom. And that is not what we want for our kids. We want them to be excited to go, oh, I want to go research this online because that sounds really cool. And so that's our goal, is that they just find a love for learning, and that continues throughout their life. And our goal too for homeschooling is we are trying to cater. I mean, obviously at the beginning, though, with elementary, you're really working on reading, writing, math, you're building the basics. But
Mhm.
as they're getting older, and like Odin is going into 7th grade now next year, we've started telling him, start figuring out what it is that you're really interested in, and we'll cater your schooling towards that.
Hmm.
So if he's thinking, oh, I love animals and maybe I want to be a vet, we're going to start catering more of his schooling towards, well, what's it going to be like then if you do decide to go to college? You're going to need X, Y, and Z to make sure you're prepared for that. And
Right.
Corrigan, my 3rd grader right now, going into 4th grade, all she wants to do is get married and have babies. So, that could change, obviously, but if that's
Mhm.
her joy in life and that's what she wants to do, I'm not going to say, well, you still need to go get a 4-year college education. But
Mhm.
then we'll make sure she's prepared to know how to take care of, herself, how to take care of her family, the basic needs that she'll need if she decides, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. And that's what her goal in
Yeah.
life is, because there's nothing wrong with that. So, but catering the education towards our kids' interests and desires is really what our goal is too. So we kind of combine unschooling with your typical schooling. So I don't know if you've heard of unschooling before.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, so unschooling too is where, if Odin, again, his brain works where he likes to fix things and tinker with things. He loves his Legos. He
Mm.
loves, building and stuff. So maybe he wants to be small engines, you know, mechanic or something like that. So then we'll just say, hey, go out to the garage, work on a small engine, find something that you want to fix. Well, there's his schooling for the day. That's essentially unschooling. It's not your traditional textbook
Mhm.
style test taking worksheets. He's still learning. It's just not the way everybody thinks you should learn, so to speak. So I
I
don't know if
really
that answered anything.
I liked how you talked about catering their schooling to what what they're interested in. I was just talking to my mom on Wednesday about that
Yep.
because she was telling her students, and what I was saying to my mom was, at least this is how I felt from my perspective when I was in junior high and for sure high school. It felt like the expectation for everybody was the same. You
Mm,
need to go to a 4-year college, liberal arts probably, and you need to go right away. I remember there were a couple kids who were planning to take a 1-year break because they weren't sure what they wanted to do or where they
mhm.
wanted to go, and I remember that those kids were criticized by the adults, that the adults would tell them or other people, "You shouldn't take a year off, it's gonna be really hard to go back to school, you're probably just gonna be lazy, you're not gonna you're not gonna have a good career if you don't," like, just
Yep.
the expectation was you need to go to a 4-year college and you need to go right away. But what my mom was telling her um, students in her, I'm not sure which class she does social studies, but she also does like econ and government and like some finance stuff, things like that,
Yep.
marketing. And she was telling them about someone in Mankato who my parents were good friends with, and he never went to college. He owns his own construction company. When they are at a site, they build homes, and there's the plumber, the electrician, all these people who didn't go to a 4-year liberal arts college, but
Mhm.
make more money than my mom does, right?
Mhm.
And she loves teaching, she likes her job, but she was trying to show them and explain to them that there are so many different options out there. And then I was talking about how many kids do go to a 4-year college right away. They change their major 6 different times. Now a bunch of people drop out after 1 year or after 2 years, and now you've just thrown away tens of thousands of dollars for what? And
Right.
I feel like our society says, Well, the experience. And if you don't go to college, then you're somehow gonna not be able to you're gonna miss out on, some amazing thing you can't get anywhere else, which,
Mhm.
yes, you can have good experiences at college. I'm not saying that you can't, but you also don't have to go to college in order to become an adult. You don't have to go to a 4-year degree in order to a 4-year school in order to find good friends or have adventures or have experiences or do internships. There are so many different options. So I like that you have talked about and even told your kids like, "Hey, figure out the things that God's really pulling your heart toward and let us know that so we can help you, so we can give you more experiences and kind of cater your schooling and unschooling toward these things that you're interested in or especially gifted in." Yeah, I like that. Thank you for listening to the first half of my conversation with Jacki Anderson. Be sure to tune in later this week to listen to the rest of our discussion.